Hi, I'm Judy Kantzegor. I'm the author of Cooking Jewish, and today I'm going to show you how to make a Passover kugel from the Passover section of my cookbook. This is what it's going to look like. Now you can make this kugel in a 9x13 pan, but if you want the knock them dead presentation, we're going to do it in a springform pan, as you are used to doing, and it'll be perfectly fine. I'm wearing my Got Kugel apron, so let's get cooking. We have matzah, of course, apples. Today I'm using apricots, which I have cut to the size of raisins. The best way to do that is with kitchen shears. But you can use raisins, regular raisins, or golden raisins if you like, or any dried fruit, really. There's lemon juice, lemon zest, cinnamon, vanilla, sugar, a little bit of salt. You can use dairy-free margarine or butter. Also, for the top, I've already laid out the ingredients that we're going to use. Pineapple rings, mandarin oranges, blueberries, and raspberries. Yesterday I didn't like the way the strawberries looked at the market, so I got raspberries, but anything red will do, even cherries. The first thing you want to do is lay out the pineapple rings and the mandarin oranges, because you want the towel, or you can use paper towels of course, to absorb the moisture. The drier the fruit is, the better it will stick to the pan. Save the juice from the pineapple so that you can pour it into your dried fruit, apricots or raisins, and let that soak while we're doing everything else. Now this is not the prettiest bowl in the world, but it is my biggest bowl. So first thing you want to do is get the matzah all nice and crumbly. So I've soaked the matzah for a very short period of time. I don't like to get it soggy. And I've drained it thoroughly and put it back in my very big bowl. The next thing we're going to do is peel all these apples. We wait till the last minute because they do turn brown. Okay, we have sliced up all the apples. I used today half Granny Smith and half Fuji. I'm going to take the lemon juice and I'm going to pour it over the apples and mix it up. That'll help to keep it from browning. And then when we finish this, we're just going to combine it with the matzah and move on to the next step. Now I've already divided my eggs, so we're going to start with the whites. I put this into the mixing bowl. I'm going to use the salt in the recipe. It's going to help it whip up a little bit better. And then I'm going to gradually add the sugar. What I've done in this recipe is I've divided the sugar half into the egg whites and half into the egg yolks, which we'll be beating up later. This makes the egg whites pretty stiff. So we're going to beat up the egg whites pretty stiff. I've got the salt in here and I'm going to be adding the sugar gradually. Okay, I think this is good. All right, I'm going to put these in a separate bowl and we'll move on to the yolks. So what you want to do now is put in your yolks with the cinnamon, lemon zest, and vanilla. Start up your mixer and add the sugar. All right, the egg yolks are done. So we're going to just mix them with the matzah and apples that are already in the great big bowl. Now we're going to add our drained apricots to the mixture. And after that's thoroughly mixed, we'll start to mix in the egg whites. Now that everything is totally mixed, we're just going to add the melted margarine or butter. And mix it thoroughly. I've taken my cheesecake pan, springform, and I've liberally greased it with, this happens to be Crisco. Don't be afraid to use this. This stuff has no trans fat anymore. People were very afraid to use this. Make sure you have a springform that's high enough so when you put the pineapple rings in there that they fit. So just put your pineapple rings around the side. All right, so if you have problems with the pineapple sticking to the back of the cheesecake pan, just take a little more of the shortening and put it around it and use it like a glue, and it'll stick. But because I've dried these really well, they're sticking beautifully. Okay, you want the last one? Give it a little squeeze. Here we go. In the center of each pineapple ring, I'm going to put my raspberries. You could use strawberries. I'm putting them in backwards because when this is unmolded, you will see the top of each fruit. So again, if you have any problems sticking, use a little bit more of the shortening as glue. Now we're ready to move on to the blueberries, and we put them in between. They may need a little extra glue, but we'll see, maybe not. Okay. This one's a big hole. I'll use a bigger one. This one needs a little. Okay, and now we're going to do the mandarin oranges, which we'll put on top. I guess they would go better like this. Don't worry if they fall apart a little bit because they're all going to cook. Okay, now this is set up and we're going to mix in our egg whites and make sure the batter is thoroughly mixed before we pour it in. Now we're going to add the egg whites. We do a third at a time. And because the egg whites were stabilized with sugar, they can sit around and notice that they are still quite firm. If you are making egg whites that doesn't have sugar incorporated in it, you couldn't let them sit around like that. They would get very liquidy. So we're going to mix this part thoroughly, then another third and another third. Okay, we have everything in the batter that needs to be there. It's quite stiff, as you can see. The thing is, with all this fruit set up, you don't want to just pour it in. We're going to be a little careful so that we don't mess up the fruit. So I start putting it in on the bottom. I got this huge spoon to do that. And as I move out towards the edges, I kind of just push it to keep the fruit in place. As you can see, there's going to be some batter left over. This is a 9-inch pan. The recipe actually calls for a 10-inch, but if you do it in a 9-inch, you get to make a little extra so you can have it for dinner tonight. By the way, this is the beginning of March that I'm making this kugel. Yes, you can freeze it. Do all your preparation in advance. Why do everything that week so by the time your Seder comes, you're exhausted? All right, now we're going to decorate. We don't want this to be too high. We're going to decorate the kugel using the same technique as we did before. First, we're going to put our pineapple rings. It's a little easier to do the top than it was to do the sides. And get this little guy in there. Sometimes you have to kind of move them around to make them even, but that's okay. And let's see, I think we'll only put one in the middle here. Okay, so next we're going to do our raspberries. Told you this was easier. Now here it is, all decorated. Next thing you want to do is take some slivers of butter or margarine, your preference, and just here and there, it's about 2 tablespoons worth, little thin slivers. Now the very last step, take some cinnamon sugar and just give it a little sprinkle. And then we're going to bake it. I already have the oven preheated to 350. Here's the batter that I have left over. So I've greased a meatloaf pan and I'm going to make another one separately. It won't take as long as the big one. And my trusty videographer Anne is going to take it home to have for dinner for her and Felix. So here's the kugel just out of the oven. Can you smell it? As soon as it cools, I'm going to wrap it up and freeze it. When you freeze it, just leave it in the tin. Then the day you want to reheat it, take it out of the freezer in the morning, leave it on your counter, and cover it. Put it in a 350-degree oven. It might take as much as 45 minutes to reheat. Don't worry about it. You won't be overcooking it. Good luck.